we're back. I'm Veronica Morgan. I'm joined by my partner in crime and co-founder of Homebuyer Academy, Meighan Wells, and we're going to talk about inspection mistakes. Meighan, you and I take it for granted that we know what to look for when we're out inspecting property. But when we've been running our first home buyer Facebook Live Q&A sessions, that's a big mouthful, isn't it? We've been inundated with questions about how to avoid buying a lemon. Now, what do you think is the biggest mistake that buyers make?
Oh, there's heaps. But I think the funniest one that I see, which amuses me no end, is people walking around knocking on walls, like sort of tapping at the walls. And we actually had the opportunity to ask someone the other night after the Facebook Q&A, what do you think you're doing when you're tapping on the walls? And they really didn't have any understanding. And of course, tapping on the walls is a number of things, but it's checking the type of material, what sort of
behind the wall,
studs, whatever might be behind the wall. But it's also to listen for any mud droppings that might sort of start to tickle down inside the wall, which would be an indication of rhino ants or termites nesting up through the walls. So it was a cute one, because you see everybody walking around tapping on walls in properties, particularly timber houses. They're not really aware of what they're looking for.
It's equivalent to kicking tires if you're looking at buying a car.
Buying a car. I always wonder what are you looking for when you're kicking a tire? I don't know.
And weirdly enough, yes, does it have air? I mean, and also, anyway, let's go down that tangent. That's a total rabbit warren. I'm not going down.
The other thing, you really love this one, and that's being seduced by styling. You know, and talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, you know, when I was young, you know, when I started in real estate 20 years ago, it was only the very elite property that actually ended up being styled. And, you know, even in our office, because I was in sales back then, and we'd be, oh my God, you had that styled, how fantastic. Well, now everything is styled. And so I think buyers have actually become a little bit less, probably a lot less, able to visualize or see beyond the nice dressings, you know. And so often when you walk into a property, you get really seduced by the actual furnishings and just the way the room's been set up. And let's face it, stylists, a good stylist anyway, can actually make a room feel a bit bigger by doing little...
can't they do amazing things?
You know,
really, like quite transformational.
And you think, well, no one can actually live in that house because, you know, there's no television, or there's no...
and the couches aren't facing the right way. And
but it looks beautiful. And it's really designed for the flow of people walking through the open as opposed to actually living in the property. But and once those paintings and the soft furnishings are taken away, and the lovely rugs that cover the, you know, the borer marks in the floorboards and everything, once that's all taken away, that's what you actually bought. And I know a lot of buyers are quite... Yeah, and I know a lot of buyers are quite shocked when they go to a pre-settlement inspection. It's like, oh, ooh, dear. Well, can I get that stylist back?
It's real, you know, it's real then. The other thing that I think that we hear of commonly is the old lipstick on a pig. It's a delightful saying, and one of yours. And it's really about the covering up of issues, the covering up of what is really going on with a property. It may be a quick makeover to cover up some dodgy sort of aspects of a property, but getting the makeup remover and getting the lipstick off the pig and having a look at the pig in its entirety, I think is a really important part of inspecting property, because you're not buying the prettiness, you're buying the bones. And it's really the bones that you need to focus on. And it's something that you and I really harp on about in the course is you need to peel back the layers and look at the bones, and not be persuaded by the prettiness of the lipstick on the pig.
Yes, paint. Paint covers a multitude of sins. And whenever I walk into a property and I think, I can smell fresh paint, you think immediately, okay, is this covering something? Now, obviously it isn't always covering something, but often it is. And certainly if there's damp, it takes a while for the damp to start coming through a newly painted wall, but sometimes it doesn't take long at all. And you know, you bought
mold in bathrooms is another one, isn't it? You know, the painting over without treating the mold or removing the problem.
Yes, I've seen, in fact, in one house I went into, I saw there was fresh paint. I could smell the fresh paint, but it was already starting to bubble where there was a leak in the roof that they hadn't even addressed. You know, and this is before it even before it actually even went to auction, this particular property. And the buyers that bought it, this particular one, didn't do a building and pest inspection. They made the assumption that everyone else had, which is a big danger, because I think they all made that same assumption. I think too, something that a lot of people do with apartments or fail to do when they're inspecting a property is fail to really look at the common areas. There's a lot of clues that in terms of the whole building and how it's been maintained and looked after that are in those common areas, and ask the neighbours.
We had a question on the Facebook Live the other night, and that was, how do you know what the noise transfer is like from an apartment above, or if you hear the toilet flush during the night? And that's a really important one, to go back to properties at different times of day, because if you're there when no one's at home, like during business day, you're not going to hear what it's like at night time when there's lots of people walking around, you know, in apartments around you. So that's probably another one to do, is to make sure that you look at properties at different times of day.
It's not always possible though, is it? So that's where, you know, go in and ask the neighbours, how noisy is it? Can you hear the toilet?
Can you hear the toilet flushing?
Dear. We have a lot. Are you winding me up
now? I'm winding you up now. I just need a kind of a subtle thing, like time.
A segue. So we have a lot of free resources available, including a due diligence checklist on the Home Buyer Academy website. And also there's the blog there, which has a lot of information there on all the mistakes, well, not all of them, but a lot of the mistakes that first home buyers can make in particular. So check that out. It's homebuyeracademy.com.au. And Meighan did reference a course earlier. We have just created a first home buyer course. So if you want to go on the waiting list for the next release, go to that website and you can easily register your details. We will be back very soon with a segment on negotiation mistakes. Looking forward to it.